We talked about escaping a double quote character by using the backslash before the double quote. There's actually quite a few other things you can escape out. You can escape out a single quote character. You can escape out a backslash. In fact, anytime you're going to use a backslash, you're going to have to put two backslashes so the JavaScript knows that you're not trying to escape a character. You can also add a new line character or a carriage return, a tab, a backspace, or a form feed, all with doing a slash and then the corresponding letter here. So let me show you an example. I'm going to put var my string equals, and we're going to make a multi-line string. So we're going to have the first line, and now I'm going to put backslash in to add a second line, and then I'm going to put a tab. So backslash T for the tab, and backslash backslash to add a backslash. Now it's going to say second line. Now I'll do backslash, and then I'll just say third line. And if I were able to log out all of that, you would see three different lines, and you would see the tab and then the backslash character. You can concatenate strings with the plus operator. You can see here that we have two strings, I come first and I come second. They've been added together or concatenated with this, so the our string is now one long string that says I come first, I come second. I'll give you another example here. So we can say my string equals, this is the start, and then I'm going to put a space before the in quotation mark, because when these get concatenated together, we want there to be a space between these two sentences. And I'll say this is the end. Now let's just see what that looks like. I'll do a console.log and do a my string, and let's see if I run this. We can see this is the start, this is the end, just one long string. You can also concatenate strings using the plus equal operator. You can see here in this example, we have the R string equals I come first, and then we have the R string plus equals I come second. So remember, just like in when you're using numbers, plus equals means that you take whatever is on the end here and add it to the variable. So we've just added I come second onto the end of I come first. Let's do another example down here. My string equals, this is the first sentence, and then I'll put a space at the end because we're going to do my string, and I'll do the plus equals. This is the second sentence. Now, if I just do a console.log here of my string, we should see that those sentences have gone together. This is the first sentence. This is the second sentence. Good. You can concatenate strings together with variables. You can see here our name, free code camp. Hello, our name is, and then we add this variable, the our name variable, which is free code camp. Hello, our name is free code camp. How are you? Well, we're going to do the same thing down here. So I'm going to do my name equals Bo, and then my string is going to equal my name is, and then I'm going to add the variable name, which is my name, and then I'll continue the string here. Whoops, that's supposed to be a plus here. And I am well. See that I put a space here and here because you have to make sure you put appropriate spaces in. And let's see what that looks like. I'll do a console.log, and I'll just put my string here. If I show that, my name is Bo and I am well. Looks good. You can append variables to strings with this plus equals operator. You can see with this variable an adjective, which is set to the word awesome. And then we have another variable, free cocamp is. And then we have the our string variable plus equal an adjective. So now our string is going to equal free cocamp is awesome. So let me show you another example. We're going to say some adjective equals worthwhile. And now I'm going to use the plus equal. So my str plus equals, and then I can put some adjective. So now after we do the my string plus equals some adjective, my string is going to say learning to code is worthwhile. Sometimes you want to find the length of a string. JavaScript makes this easy. So we have the first name is set to Ada, but we just use the dot length property to find the length. So first name dot length. Remember, first name is Ada here, and then dot length will return an integer, a number that has the number of characters in the string. So that would be 3. So let's try this again. Here's another example. Last name length equals last name. We just have to type in dot length. And just to show you, let me console.log that, and you'll be able to see if I put in last name length, and if I run that, you'll see 8, because there are 8 characters in the word Lovelace. Bracket notation is a way to get a character at a specific index within a string. So you can see right here, we have the first name, Ada, and right here we have first name, and then here's the bracket notation. You can see there's brackets with a number inside. So most modern programming languages, like JavaScript, don't start counting at 1 like humans do. They start at 0, which is called zero-based indexing. So with the number 0, that refers to the first index of the string, which would be the A. So the A would be 0, D is 1, and then A is 2. So this first letter of first name, if we do first name with the bracket notation with a 0, that's going to equal A. So let me show you another example. Let's say we want to get the first letter of the last name. Again, I'm just going to do the bracket notation and put a 0 here. If I wanted the second letter, the O, I would put a 1 here. So if I console.log, we can see what it came up with. So console.log first letter of last name. And if we look in the console, L, because the first letter of the last name is L. Strings are immutable, meaning they cannot be altered once created. This does not mean that they cannot be changed, just that the individual characters of a string literal cannot be changed. So look at this example. My string, and then we're going to use bracket notation to choose the first letter. So it currently says Jello World. We want the first letter to change to an H to say Hello World. But if I run that, there's going to be an error because of the immutability of strings. Now we can still change this to hello world, but we can't just change an individual letter like that. So we're going to have to do my string equals, and I'm just going to have to type in the whole thing, which is hello world. And now it will change to the word hello world. You can use bracket notation to get any character position in a string. So earlier we did the first position, but here's how you would get the second position. Remember the 0 index, so 1 is the second position, 0 is the first position. We can also get the third letter of the last name using the brackets. We'll just put 2 in the brackets to get the third letter of the last name. You can also use bracket notation to find the last letter in a string, even if you don't know how many letters are in the string. You do it based on the length. So if you look right here, in the brackets, we have an expression to be evaluated. First name dot length minus 1. So the length is 3. 3 minus 1 is 2. The reason why we're doing a minus 1 is because remember we count starting at 0. So the length minus 1 is going to be the last index of the name. So we can do that same thing here. To get the last letter of the last name, I can just do last name dot length minus 1. And that's going to get the last letter of the last name, which is the E right here. We saw how to use bracket notation to get the last letter of a string. You can also do the third to last letter or fourth to last letter. So you just subtract however much you want from the length of the string. So we have the bracket notation first name dot length minus 3. That's going to get the third to last letter. So if we want the second to last letter into this variable here, we do something similar. We just do last name dot length, and then we're going to subtract 2 to get the second to last character of the string. We are going to use our knowledge of strings to build a Mad Libs style word game. In a Mad Lib game, you are provided sentences with some missing words, like nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs, and then you fill in the missing pieces with words of your choice to make a sentence that could be funny and hopefully makes a little bit of sense. So let me show you how you do this. This also uses a function. Now, we haven't talked about functions yet. I'm going to explain those more later, but for now just go with it because that's not the point of this lesson for now. But this function called word blanks, you can call the function and you have to pass in certain types of words. You pass in a noun, an adjective, a verb, and an adverb. So down here you can see that we're calling the function called word blanks. That's the function name here, and we're passing in a noun, an adjective, a verb, and an adverb. So the point is that we are going to use all these words that are passed in to make a sentence. So we know that var result equals an empty string at first, and then we have to use all these words in result, and then the result is going to be returned from this function, and eventually will be logged out onto the screen with this console.log. So what I'm going to do here is do result plus equals. We're going to use the plus equals to add something to this result using all the noun, the adjective, the verb, and the adverb. So let's see. It's going to say the, and then we'll use the adjective, my adjective. In this case will be the big, and then let's put the noun, my noun, because adjectives are words that describe nouns, the big dog, and then we're going to say what this noun was doing, the verb, my verb. The big dog ran, and then where does he run to? To the store. And then we're going to add, we need a space here. So there's a space between this to the store, and then we're going to add the final adverb. So now we have to add a period. And there's one more thing we have to add, or a few more things. So right now, it's my adjective, my noun, my verb, and there's no spaces in between those. So if I run that, you can see what that's going to look like in the console. It just said, big dog ran, with no spaces. So we're going to have to add some spaces in here also. Let's do that. And now it's going to take in the noun, adjective, verb, and adverb, and then put it into that sentence. So one cool thing is we can actually pass in some different words. So like for instance, if I copy this, I'm going to paste it. Instead of dog, I will put for the noun bike, and then adjective, I'll put slow. And then for the verb, I'll put flew. And the adverb, I'll put slowly. And now, if we look in the console, we have two sentences. The big dog ran to the store quickly. The slow bike flew to the store slowly. Arrays allow you to store several pieces of data in one place. So look at this example, our array. Now, arrays always start with a bracket and then end with a bracket to show the beginning and ending of the array. And every element in the array is separated by a comma. So you can see here, the first element is a string. The second element is a number. And you can have more and more elements. You just put comma and you can keep adding elements, and the elements can be any data type. You can see here we have a string and a number, but you can always also use arrays or floating numbers or really any sort of other data type in your array. So let's see another example. So let's do my array Quincy, and then for a number, we'll do 1 because Quincy is number 1. When one of the elements in an array is another array, that's called a nested array or a multi-dimensional array. You can see here's the beginning of the array and here's the end of the array, but the first element in this array is another array with two elements of its own. Same with here, the second element is an array. So this is two arrays within another array. So we can do that here. Here's another example. So our first element in the array will be an array with a string and a number. And then I'll put a comma to put the second element of the array, which will be another array with a string and a number. Earlier, we learned how to use bracket notation to find a specific index in a string. You can do the same thing with arrays. So look at this array. Our array, we have three elements, 50, 60, 70. And these have the indexes 0, 1, 2. So with this R array, with the bracket notation and the 0, that's going to be index 1, which is going to equal 50. So we can do the same thing here. My array equals 50, 60, 70. So let's try to find the first element in that array. So var r my data equals my array, and then I'm going to do index 0. I could do index 1, index 2, and then if we console.log that, we can see for sure what that is. So if I put my data, and we can see in the console, it's 50. You can use array indexes to modify arrays. Now, we tried to do this earlier with strings using bracket notation, and we were not able to modify a string using bracket notation, but with arrays, you can. So the original array is 18, 64, 99, and then we're going to use the array index of 1. Now, 1 is going to be the second number, or 0, 1, 2, and this number 64 is going to be set to 45. So the new array is going to be 18, 45, 99. Let's try it again with this 18, 64, 99. So let's do my array, and then instead of doing the second digit, I'm going to do the first digit in the array, the first index, which would be index 0, and I will say equals 45. So now this array has been updated. So if I do console.log and then do my array, we'll see that the array is now 45, 64, 99. You can also use bracket notation to select an element in a multidimensional or array of arrays. So you can see this array here, we have our outer array, but inside that array are more arrays. The elements of the array are other arrays, and the last element of the array actually has an array in this. So this is a 3-layer deep array right here. So to access an array of arrays or an element within an array that's within an array, you use a double bracket notation. So if you see this example here, my array, the first bracket is 0. That's going to get the first element in the array, which would be right here. And then that element is an array. So the second bracket would be the index of the array within the array. So this 0 would point to here. So let's try to figure out how we can select a value equal to 8. Well, let's see. I see an 8 right here. So let's figure out what this first number should be. Well, let's count 0, 1, 2. So the third array would be index 2. Now we want to go 0, 1. Now we have to do index 1 to get the second number in the third array. So let's test to see if that equals 8. So I'll do console.log and then do my data here. And we'll see if that equals 8. It does. We did it. You can append data to the end of an array with the push function. So see, an array has been set up here, our array, Stimson J cat, and then we take our array right here and use the push function to push into the next element in the array another array here. So now it's going to look like this. We can see at the end of the original array, we've pushed this other array at the end. So let's try it again down here. We have my array, and you can see we have each element in the array is another array. So I am going to do my array dot push, and then I can push something on the end here, which will be like above another array. So this is going to say dog, comma 3, and now we've pushed this onto the array. We can remove an item from an array with the pop function here. So see this pop here, and then we know it's a function because of the parentheses at the end of the word pop. So the array starts with 1, 2, 3. So now we do this array.pop, and it's going to it's going to remove the last element, which is the 3, and then it's going to put it right into this variable here. So now, as you can see down here, remove from our array now equals 3, and then our array is going to equal 1, 2 because the 3 has been popped off. So we can do the same thing here. So remove from my array equals, and I'm going to do my array dot pop. And we can see what the array is going to equal now if I just do console.log my array. And if you do this, we can see that the array only has the one item, the one array, instead of the two arrays. The shift function is very similar to the pop function, except it removes the first element of the array instead of the final element. So we see the shift function on the end of the array here, and the array is the same as before, but now the first element, Stimson, is being removed. After we shift off the first element, the array is going to equal jcat, and the removed from our array is going to equal Stimson. So let's do another example down here. We're going to do a shift again. So I'm going to do equals my array dot shift. And now the my array is just going to equal dog 3. And the removed from my array is going to equal John 23. The unshift function is similar to the push array function. While push adds an element to the end of the array, unshift adds an element to the beginning of the array. So let's look through this example code. We have the array, Stimson jcat. We're going to shift off the first element, remove the first element. So our array is jcat. Now we're going to unshift or add an element at the beginning, which is the string happy. So the array will now be happy jcat. So let's try again. This time, the array is John 23, dog 3. Because of the shift, we've shifted off the John 23. And now I'm going to unshift something. So I'll do my array dot unshift. Now we're going to add something to the beginning of the array. We'll do Paul 35. So now the array is just going to be Paul 35, dog 3.